Hope you had a great Saturday here. What if I told you that the major mountain with the safest climbing record on Earth is in Antarctica? Correct. The major mountain, and I'm talking about major mountains, I'm not talking about, minor hills or even just your typical 14er in the Colorado Rockies, or even just a smaller mountain in Asia, etc. I'm talking about one of the major mountains in the world. It's actually one of the 7 summits, which are the largest or highest peaks on all of the continents as well as Oceania. And this mountain is called Vinson Massif, or Mount Vinson. It was named after a United States congressman named Carl Vinson, who has helped provide large amounts of funding for Antarctic research. So Vinson Massif stands at 16,050 feet above sea level. It's just shortly inland from where the Antarctic Peninsula meets the Antarctic mainland. And there's never been a fatality on Vinson Massif. And the reasons for this are fairly simple. Number one, its location it's harder than, hell is easier to reach than Vinson Massif. And it is a very logistically difficult, also extremely expensive trip. The average cost of a trip to and guides, etc., professional guides for Vinson Massif runs around $45,000 per person. So it's not cheap, and even it's in comparison to Mount Everest as far as cost is concerned. But the other reason why Vinson is very, very safe, has never had a fatality, is that everything is done strictly by the book here. And granted, Antarctica is not the Antarctic Treaty does not allow any individual country to govern the territory or the landmass, or having any they don't have any particular jurisdiction. There are land claims though, and the U.S. Antarctic Program maintains the rules for many of the climbs of Vinson. And of course, everything is done by the book. You are required to fly through McMurdo Station, which is not very far away, and then you're helicoptered in to base camp at about 10,000 feet above sea level. Vinson is not a particularly technical climb either. That also has it working in its favor. It is a hikeable mountain, and oftentimes done on skis. And again, the rules are very strict. There is no such thing as an independent climb of Vinson. You are required to have a tour. You are required to have guides. The United States Antarctic Program is very strict about this. And they're very strict about what kind of guides can be hired for this particular ascent. There are very strict standards on what their qualifications and what they provide on the climb. This isn't like, certain mountains in Asia or even the Himalayas where cheaper expeditions are available, or you can do it on a lower budget. You cannot do that here. Not allowed. And because of the strict adherence to safety standards and the strict adherence to qualifications of the guides, anybody who attempts this climb is going to be in the hands of very qualified men, or maybe women, in their ascent. Now, not every attempt of Vinson is successful, of course, but the success rate is somewhere around 60%. And only about a couple hundred tries per year are done on this. That also cuts down on the fatality rate, is because when there's not as many attempts, you're obviously not going to have as much of a risk of fatalities. And the reason why there's not as many attempts is because this is a difficult one to reach. Even compared to, Everest is very easy to reach compared to Vinson. So Vincent Massif, or Mount Vinson, is the most difficult of the 7 summits to reach. Even more difficult than Mount McKinley or Denali, which is also very difficult to reach, even though you can get to Denali National Park relatively easily. It's getting to base camp on that one that's very difficult. But even getting to the Antarctic continent is not very easy. Any ascent of Vinson has to be done through flights that are chartered by the United States Antarctic Program, which means that you're catching your own flights to Christchurch, New Zealand, which is the launching point for most flights to Antarctica and then further afield to the South Pole. The U.S. Antarctic Program has its flight base at Christchurch, which is the second largest city in New Zealand, and it's on the South Island. So geographically, it's the closest of the New Zealand cities to the South Pole. So you're paying for your own flight to Christchurch, and then you're hitching a U.S. Antarctic Program flight from Christchurch, New Zealand, to McMurdo Station. From McMurdo Station, which is the largest station on the Antarctic continent, you then will catch a helicopter ride to Vinson Base Camp. And the elevation at 16,000 feet is not particularly a killer, but it is enough to cause severe elevation sickness. But again, because the climbers are in the hands of very excellently trained guides, medical assistance even though despite its remote location, if the closest medical help is at McMurdo, which is 700 miles southwest. Or is it northwest? I don't know. I can't even tell looking at the Antarctic map. But it's a few hundred kilometers away. But moderate medical help is available from the guides on the mountain itself, which has helped stabilize, I believe, many a climber before they could be helicoptered back to McMurdo Base. And this high standard of training in the guides also has contributed to the perfect safety record of this mountain. Again, no fatalities have ever been recorded in anybody climbing Vincent Massif. So, in short, the safest major mountain in the world, is the one in the most brutal climate. And again, you're required to carry significant alpine clothing on this climb, which means hypothermia almost never occurs on this mountain. Blizzards can occur, and they can occur suddenly, which is a challenge with climbing Vinson. But it is the major mountain with the safest track record in history. Never a fatality on Vincent Massif. So there it is, guys. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the rest of this long weekend if you have one. I had to work yesterday, but if you didn't, enjoy the upcoming 4th day of your weekend. And I'll be doing church things tomorrow as usual. And as I always like to say, peace out, homies.